o ventilador da tomada, Katsu. Fica um calor do cão, velho. Pronto. Vou colocar no 2 pra não atrapalhar o som. Está bom o áudio, né? Não tá ruim não, né? Show. Então, deixa eu pegar aqui o microfone rapidinho aqui assim, ó. Isso que... Tem esse pessoal que muda como são as coisas, sabe? Mas, pronto. Não gosto de mexer muito nas minhas... Troco minhas coisas de lugar porque vira bagunça. Fone questionável agora. Puta que pariu. Beleza. Aqui é ótimo, ótimo. Então, pera aí. Vem o cabo. Pera aí. Essa live tá muito bizarra pra vocês, né? Vem aqui. Isso aqui, ótimo, já achei o ponto. Então, é isso aí. Muito bem-vindos, isso aqui vai ser um quadro que eu vou fazer nessa porcaria de canal inútil. Assistindo porcaria. Mais posicionamento ridiculamente questionável da webcam 1. Dia 23/2/2025. Eu ainda não coloquei ela no posicionamento questionável agora. Eu tirei ele dele. Esse microfone tá um nojo. Sério, isso aqui tá muito nojento. Sério, não. Tá grudando na minha mão. Isso aqui tá basicamente podre. Isso aqui é o pior microfone do mundo. É um microfone com processador SF666. Pior microfone que você vai encontrar na sua vida, isso aqui. A live vai ficar fechada por um tempo, mas eu vou colocar umas músicas porcaria pra vocês escutarem durante o período que eu vou jantar daqui a pouco. Eu achei que não importa. Vou colocar aqui o microfone de volta aqui na base igualmente nojenta dele. Isso aqui tem 5 anos de uso, esse microfone. Por isso que ele tá porcaria do inferno aí, mas inclusive pra quem questiona, é um de acho da webcam. Ela já teve em janela, já teve em cima de rádio. Ela tá em cima desse pandeiro aqui, em cima da caixa, onde fica a minha coleção de CDs e DVDs. E o posicionamento vai ser isso. Pera aí. Ela tá muito pra cima. Então, aqui. Esse vai ser o posicionamento. Como ela pra ver que posicionamento de imbecil do caralho. Vocês conseguem ver tudo aqui, ó. Dá pra... Cara, é incrível que assim, eu cheguei, eu coloquei o violão no lugar dele. Tiraram ele do lugar dele de novo. Acha? É. Tá? E tem gente que não consegue entender qual é a organização dos outros. E tá contando. Tô de volta, caralho. Isso de conversa, caçar o porcaria pra assistir no YouTube, né? Quem assiste acha que eu tô chapado. Eu não vou assistir esse vídeo, que isso aqui é... Fone. Tá, isso aqui me parece interessante, ó. Isso. Talvez. Bem que não seria porcaria, mas... Ah, vamos caçar um vídeo aqui do cara joga de tabuleiro. O cara só tem muito vídeo idiota, tipo. Vamos ver. Eu acho que eu vou ver um que eu assisti no almoço de domingo aqui. Isso aqui eu assisti durante o meu almoço no domingo, comendo um frango aí, uma carninha gostosa aí, um arroz com feijão.
Eu diria que 80% do meu tempo eu uso a Monday. Desde que a Monday entrou, isso tô falando 5 meses já.
Zafa!
How's it going, dudes? So you're one of them there creative types. Ideas flowing a million feet per hour, you struggle to keep up with the sweatshop labor production of your
As
local
piores
loaf. And
cópias mal
producing these
feitas de
ideas is not only tricky,
Monopoly.
but incredibly taxing, with work demands that dwarf the more relaxing careers out there, like teaching, nursing, and asphalt paving. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get lit up for that one later. So it's really no surprise that some of these creators will take those opportunities to lighten the load by cutting corners. And one of the biggest corners that you can cut is that part where you come up with an original idea in the first place. Why go through all the trouble of making your own really cool thing when the public is clamoring for something very similar but legally distinct enough that you avoid a lawsuit? And nowhere is this more prevalent
Fica
than with
dentro,
the
ingresso.
many rip-offs of Monopoly.
Opa, antes para falar um bagulho que eu fiquei meio bolado que aconteceu hoje. Caralho, agora que eu percebi que eu não coloquei na tela pra ver o vídeo. Deixa eu voltar pro começo. Tá, primeiro. Segundo. Vamos falar um negócio que me deixa meio bolado hoje. Seu trabalho, mas. Acho que aqui dá pra ver aqui do espelho. Se tô vendo essas manchas amarelas na camiseta branca, é mostrado como se eu fiz um sanduíche antes pra aula, pra comer na hora do almoço antes de trabalhar, bem na própria empresa, claro. O que eu fui mordeu, assim, mas tá delicioso isso, tá? Mas a mostrada como é que caiu na camiseta. Branca. É isso que aconteceu. Porra. Espero que o vídeo não fique travando, que foi da outra vez lá, que ficou travando um pouco no começo, com essa cena nova aqui. É cena 4 é só captura de tela mesmo, né?
How's How's it going, dudes? So you're one of them there creative types. Ideas flowing 1,000,000 feet per hour, you struggle to keep up with the sweatshop labor production of your leftal load. And producing these ideas is not only tricky, but incredibly taxing, with work demands that dwarf the more relaxing careers out there like teaching, nursing, and asphalt paving. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get lit up for that one later. So it's really no surprise that some of these creators will take those opportunities to lighten the load by cutting corners. And one of the biggest corners that you can cut is that part where you come up with an original idea in the first place. Why go through all the trouble of making your own really cool thing when the public is clamoring for something very similar but legally distinct enough that you avoid a lawsuit? And nowhere is this more prevalent than with the many rip-offs of Monopoly. Each of these are rip-offs. Not being produced by Hasbro, they've slapped a new theme or city on the box and shipped them out to the public because Hasbro owns the trademark on this, not this. But with how numerous these are, I really don't want to just spend 40 minutes covering every Hoosieropoly or Irishopoly or Crapopoly, because among the distinguished club of these rip-offs, there are those that really stand out for maybe their silliness, their quality, or their controversy. So what I've prepared for you today is a 4-course meal of Monopolies, all of them being doused in our signature rip-off ranch. It was originally going to be a 5-course meal, but once the chefs received the ingredients for global survival, we realized that this would be nearly impossible to fully cover in a split segment. So, no dessert tonight, you're gonna have to come back and order that one later down the line. But don't let that distract you from the wonderful offerings that we do have. 4 courses of increasingly complex taste guaranteed to leave a memorable impression with your mouth and have a disagreement with your stomach.
Ele
Your
ainda vai
first
pegar
course
outro
is on its
vídeo,
way out now,
possivelmente
so sit back
pior
and enjoy the worst
clone de
and
Monopoly do
weirdest
mundo.
Monopoly rip-offs. To start off your lovely meal, we've prepared a fantastic
Tem até um
hors
Monopoly
d'oeuvre.
racista aí.
Something simple designed to activate your
vídeo.
taste buds and get you ready for the flavors to come.
Milhões de produtos disponíveis na Shopee. Compre agora, chega amanhã. Olha na Shopee.
This selection is sourced directly from Late for the Sky, the industry leader in the Dashopoly scene, and is one of their finest offerings, Bibleopoly. Because when I think of the unwavering love of the Lord our God, the first thing that comes to mind is a game of Monopoly. Bibleopoly is the 1991 title that sees players race around famous cities from the Holy Text, collecting offerings and slowly constructing a house of worship. The first player to successfully build a church wins. Bibleopoly is your standard LFTS Monop ripoff. The money is now offerings, the properties are all locations from the Bible, the cards are faith/contingency and the abyss, and the hotels are now the game-ending churches. All of the name changes do make the game quite confusing on first viewing until you get the hang of the lingo, but eventually you will start to understand what's going on here. Unlike some other Late for the Sky titles, they have gone into this one and changed some of the mechanics to add more to the theme, which produces a lot of interesting effects on the gameplay. Can you take a wild guess on the first thing that they changed? Oh, come on! The railroads have, shocker, been raptured for being far too pure, and in their place, the abyss spaces have been left, which function as this game's community chess spaces. This is very interesting, as there are 2 other card drawing spaces still on the board, Faith and Contingency. But since making a 3rd deck would go against the design philosophy they stole, they kinda just mashed these 2 together into the same deck. They really could have just made the spaces the same. Another change that the cards cause is that some of them require you to donate offerings to the community, which makes the free parking cash house rule mandatory.
Presta atenção, era isso que eu ia te perguntar, no fim acabei não perguntando. É o seguinte.
predatory like some of the newer monopolies. But the biggest change to the game by far is the win condition, as whoever can build this game's version of the hotel first just outright wins the game right there. This causes a massive shift in the game's strategy, as ROI is no longer a consideration. You are
estragaram o
locked
jogo.
in to pure speed. This means that cheaper properties are much more desirable, as you are left with more offerings to put bricks up once you earn your cornerstone. And with a monopoly now carrying a key directly to the finish line, trading has been functionally eliminated from your playstyle altogether. Trading a monopoly to someone would be the fastest way to lose the game, and the designers actually foresaw that this would happen and planned a workaround to the property hoarders. Some of the cards will either force you to give a property back to the community or trade for a property of your choice. So as much as you gluttons would like to hold on to your stash, sloth will only work for so long. You have to be active in order to win. The win condition being first to build the church also changes the pace of the game immensely, as it is very unlikely that anyone will end up going bankrupt before the game ends due to everyone racing to get that steeple down as quickly as possible. This all combines into a very weird product in total, as it looks like Monopoly, it walks like Monopoly, and it plays like a completely different game. Honestly, if you like the initial property scramble of the standard game, but hate every part that comes after that, you might end up having a good time with this one, as that scramble likely won't let up throughout the whole thing. And if it does, just trade a Monopoly to someone so you can watch all the other players get furious at you. You guys don't get it. I'm the most charitable one here. If anything, I'm winning right now. But if you need some space to store all these phenomenal titles, then add some spectacle to your storage with today's sponsor, Box King. As someone with quite the sizable collection, I often find myself wondering, definitely start a conversation. I think it is time that I bring out your second course. Up next is a delectable appetizer that will better represent
Os
the
caras não estão me
wild
pagando pra
flavors
ver,
that you will be seeing
pagando o anúncio aí, então.
a much heavier dish that's likely to leave a more lasting impression on your buds than our first.
É um Monopoly racista esse daí.
Ghettoopoly. A car crash wishes it could produce that kind of whiplash. Ghettoopoly, or Ghettopoly if I pronounce it how it's spelled, is the 2003 title populated head to toe in the stereotypes surrounding the subject. Buy stolen properties and build up your crack houses and projects. The last pimp left on the block wins. Gee guys, I gotta say, something about this one's really rubbing me the wrong way. Unlike our last title, this one doesn't try to shake up the gameplay at all. Just standard Monopoly with new theming for all the bits and bobs around
Ou seja, apenas jogo genérico de Monopoly com racismo.
the board. All the color sets are indicated with nondescript advertiser-friendly pipes, the hustle cards can get you elected Pimp of the Year, and the railroads are back in the form of the various liquor stores around town. At least they're there? But immerse yourself even further into the world of Ghettopoly by selecting one of the new game tokens. We have a student with their textbook, Jamiroquai, some type of engineering project, a basketball from the local Boys and Girls Club, native flora from the community garden, Red 40, and a nondescript advertiser-friendly rock. In case you were wondering, no, this game did not receive any backlash and it was welcomed with open arms by everyone and it revolutionized the gaming scene in the end. With a title as brazen as this one, it was inevitable that it was going to get a ton of hate from practically all parties. And it did. Hundreds, if not thousands, of complaints were sent in complaining as to how these people had the gall to release this to the public. The only problem with that being that they were all sent to Hasbro, who had nothing to do with this project. With this kind of title and this style of Monopoly ripoff being far less common than it is today, the general public just assumed that Hasbro had completely lost it and released this as an official Monopoly title. As a result, Hasbro was freaking furious, and quickly sued the game's creator David Chang for, let's see here, trademark infringement, copyright infringement, trademark delusion and tarnishment, and unfair competition due to it being a racist knockoff of Monopoly. Luckily for our storied character Chang here, the modern day sees plenty of examples of companies following the that one guy /thing-opoly trend without legal repercussions. So
Inclusive, ser o único que foi processado.
Conforto da folha tripla com textura acolchoada 3D. Cuidado em maciez inconfundíveis.
Unlike Game
Não,
Monopoly.
inclusive, esse é o único que foi processado. Que não era que nem esse aqui. Que é desse tipo, alguma coisa ópoli, porque motivos óbvios. Esse aqui foi processado por conta do Monopoly. O Monopoly gay foi processado por ter Monopoly no nome.
Which was sued right off the face of the planet, Getopoly here was instead sued right off the face of the planet. Our boy Dave got killed in there, a complete massacre. But how did Hasbro manage to win this case? Did they use underhanded tactics? Did they bribe the judge? No. In fact, Hasbro went for a wholly unorthodox method that really ended up working wonders for them in the end, relying on your opponent being a complete moron. David Chang's strategy in this courtroom drama was bold, to say the least. He would be going up against the full might of the Hasbro legal team completely alone, and when asked to provide documents that certified his testimony on the revenue that he had made from the game, he would delay again, then give some kind of excuse, ask for a little more time, then delay again, and then refuse to provide the documentation altogether. His shenanigans got so bad that the judge eventually decided to just find him in contempt of court, throwing out his case entirely, which automatically granted the win to Hasbro simply because they were the only party that participated. As a result of this, Chang was permanently enjoined from manufacturing, reproducing, distributing, advertising, selling, or displaying anything related to the Getopoly brand.
Ou seja, ele não pode fazer... Ah, não, e inclusive esse maluco aí, o cara pretendia, ele vai falar aí, mas vou falar agora mesmo, lançar ainda mais 2 ou 3 jogos paródia de Monopoly racistas também.
Including the future games that he had planned to produce, Redneckopoly, Hoodopoly, and Latinopoly.
Não, eu falei errado. Vamos ver. 1, 2, 3, 4. O cara pretendia lançar mais 5 jogos racistas ou xenofóbicos de Monopoly.
Chang was also forced to pay a $400,000 fine to Hasbro for damages, which matched what he testified was the profit he received from selling the game. Now, although I have portrayed Chang as a moron here, there was also the possibility that he was playing three-dimensional chess while Hasbro was caught playing checkers. In his testimony, he said that he had made $400,000 to $500,000 from selling the game. But when told to provide the documentation that proved this number true, he put them through the legal ringer until he was given the forced loss. When you lose this kind of legal battle, Hasbro is meant to get all of the profits that you made from the infringing product. And since they couldn't certify the number, the judge just gave them the lower end of Chang's own estimate. Now, what's interesting is that the courts did some number crunching, and based on Chang's other testimony of selling around 50,000 copies, they determined that at the lowest price that Chang ever charged for the game, he would have made at least $900,000 in profit, ignoring the fact that he had raised the price several times during the game's lifespan. I'm not making any of this up, this is all in the official court documents. So there is a possibility that this man paid a majority of the profits to his relatives for services, made up some lowball number that looked reasonable for a profit total, then sandbagged his own legal case to get Hasbro off his back by giving them a quick win. I could be giving too much credit to the creator of Getopoly here, but if that's what happened, what a play! So, no, you will not be seeing a new copy of Getopoly in your local Target anytime soon. But you can find it on the official Getopoly website after Opoly Games purchased the rights, which really feels like it is violating the injunction, but I'm not a lawyer, so sue them, not me. Dang, that was just the appetizer? I can't wait to taste the main course. Yes, I must say, that one came out a little heavier than expected. But before we can get to the main meal, we implore you to enjoy your third course of this palate-cleansing salad, so that none of the flavors mix between the dishes. Don't worry, our salads are specially crafted and carry their own appeal. So we do hope that you will be delighted by your third course, Mega Nation. Mega Nation is the 19-something or another title that sees players purchase some of the most powerful nations in the world to add to their borders. Drain your opponent's accounts and prove that you know more
não,
about
esse
the
jogo
world.
aqui?
The last player
É esse aqui?
remaining will rule
Ou
their
é o outro
Mega
que eu tô
Nation.
pensando?
This game is all over
Não,
the
é o outro.
place. The board is way smaller than any of the other games in this subject.
O outro que eu tô pensando é nível assim, Monopoly no extra difícil com simulação de realismo.
Genre. The corner spaces all carry the exact same effect, and if you didn't catch my comments earlier, this thing doesn't even have a publishing year. The only reason I could get 19-something or another was because Russia was still using the Soviet flag. We're grasping at sickles here. Mega Nation's main shtick is that you are buying up nations of the world, as some of the premier players on the world stage, like the United States, France, Israel, and West Germany, are all up for grabs as you grow your worldwide borders. But what is interesting about Mega Nation is how it has separated itself as a ripoff, as it has decided to do something that I've seen no other title try, adding a second type of currency. Mega Nation does its business with two currencies, the standard dollars and passports. Money is money. You can buy things with it and pay off debts. The whole money can be exchanged for goods and services thing, very standard. Passports, on the other hand, are limited and country specific. Each nation only has a certain amount of these documents, and they can only be used for that country in question. For instance, say you wanted to buy France for $4 million. Oh, I'm getting swindled on that deal. You might only have 2 mil, but you do have 3 French passports. So you can take 2 of those and your 2 mil to get the 4 million France bucks needed to buy the country. But that's not the only use of passports, as you can take your final French doc and plug it into your freshly bought country, which will now force any player that lands there to give you a milli or a French passport. So these not only operate as a secondary currency, but as the houses that you use to increase your property's value. Properly confused yet? Fantastic, because we haven't even gotten to the trivia. Landing on one of the 6 international custom spaces will force you to prove that you know something about the world you are trying to rule, as you must choose whether to answer a human interest or geography question for one of the countries. Getting a question wrong gets you nothing, while a correct guess gets you either a milli or one of the available passports, and the chance to double or nothing your winnings by answering the question that you didn't choose. Now we're on a game show? What? If you are wholly non-confident in your abilities of knowledge, though, there is a third option that you can take. Forgo the trivia entirely and go for the surprise option, which will grant you a completely random effect that could be good or bad, who knows? Oh, we're not on a game show, we're at the casino. Gotcha. This is such a spaghetti-at-the-wall product that I'm surprised it even functions. The meeting for this had to have gone, alright, we want a Monopoly-style game where you buy countries and the countries all have fun facts and trivia about them and you can buy them with money, but also passports, and those also function as the building, so you need to use those wisely, but don't hold on to them too long because
Já
if
vou!
they forgo our trivia mechanic entirely and go for the mystery box option. Steve, did you get all that? Theoretically, it's like they had 4 different game ideas, but only had enough in the budget for one, so they combined them all together and said, yep, that's one Mega Nation. It really is a tough one to figure out all the way, but you can just as easily get away with calling it Monopoly with countries and hit about 80% of what's going on here, so we'll just leave it there. I'm glad that you're enjoying your salad. We are proud of the mystery that our wide range of dressings provide. Now that you're done with that, I believe you are ready for the 4th course, our main course, the star of our show. The most complex dish on the menu, sure to leave even the most experienced patrons confused as to how or why it was crafted this way, Joel Hardin's Mogul. If you choose to include the name as part of the title, I'm not just going to call it Mogul, you're getting the full title. Joel Hardin's Mogul is the 2008 game that dared to ask, what if Monopoly not only hated you personally, but also thought that it was better than you? I'm serious, I don't think I've seen a game that wants to be played less than this one. I think you're more supposed to just think about how great it is. Joel Hardin's Mogul takes a non-standard approach to this design. using the Monopoly framework to put forth a realistic depiction of real estate.
Vai ouvindo.
Use building profiles to invest in properties while shaking down the rentoids that bring in your buckaroos. First player to reach the predetermined net worth wins. This game aims to make you feel like the landlord you've always dreamed of being, managing multiple properties with a steady stream of cash coming in from those that choose to rent your abodes. But this game also works to help scrape off the glitz and glamour that is normally associated with that position, because it makes you work through everything that is required from that title with no regard for your health or well-being. The best description of the gameplay I have for this one is, have you seen Veilfisk's realistic Monopoly? You know, the one where you have to put up down payments on properties and carefully manage your funds so that your yearly mortgage payments do not outpace your yearly salary and you go into irreparable amounts of debt? Yeah, so imagine that, but they put it onto a physical board and took it 100% serious. To showcase what I mean, here are the components that you receive with your purchase of Joel Harden's Mogul. A box with what I must say are some pretty great inserts, money and various playing pieces, 4 different types of cards, those being the Good Luck Bad Luck deck, the Property Info for Ownership deck, the Personal Mortgage deck, and the Investment Property Mortgage deck. The double-sided HUD-2 forms from the Department of Hardin Urban Development, which you will use to catalog each of your properties, the double-sided financial worksheets over which you will spend most of the game slumped in a stressed position, and one really confusing game board. Go ahead, try to tell me which of the 4 paths your pieces are meant to travel on. If you guessed the second to furthest ring, congratulations! You've earned the grand prize of learning about the mechanics. Now, as we all know, landlord is one of the toughest jobs that a person can take on, and no one wants you to know this more than the Philadelphia real estate mogul credited with designing the game. As such, Joel Harden's Mogul is going to put you through
Tenho
the
certeza que esse cara tá
absolute
sendo irônico
ringer,
nessa parte, a
taking
gente
any
fala
semblance
isso.
of intuitive game design out of the picture entirely and tossing you directly into the fire as if you just graduated real estate school. For example, here are some of the mechanics that you can expect to run into in your standard game, as listed by Amabel on the Board Game Geek page. In a normal game, you will...
Eu vou jantar. Acho que tem como desligar a câmera aqui, né? Tipo, poing, 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 poing. Vai ficar assim, eu vou desligar o microfone também, só pra deixar claro. Tchau. Já volto. A princípio a música potencialmente ruim por um momento. Katsu. Coisa. Pronto. Vocês estão nessa tela aqui, tá lá do meu projeto, né, da Michelle. Se vocês estão se perguntando quem seria exatamente esse seguidor, sou eu mesmo. Pô, tem um negócio muito esquisito aqui. Já vou, Katsu! Já sei. Vocês vão ouvir um single de um projeto meu em loop. Desculpe minha demora, eu estava jantando. Caralho, um prego amassado. Cerveja.
Come into contact with fully built-up mechanics like the double-sided worksheets for both individual properties and personal accounts, various types of loans, personal credit ratings, marriages, divorces, prenuptial agreements, sheriff sales, amortization, bankruptcy, foreclosure, and financial audits brought about by financial reporting errors, with errors in your favor requiring you to pay 10 times the difference unless the reporting error was committed within Section B of the worksheet. Yeah, I think I'm ready to jump right in. Quick question. Why is marriage a fully fleshed out mechanic in my real estate management game? Not only did the designer deem this to be so important to the theming that it had to be implemented, but also decided that divorce is so integral to the landlord identity that we can't possibly leave that out either. And look, I can get maybe for tax purposes or whatever for the marriage mechanic, but did we really need to spend vital man hours on the prenup mechanic? I don't want to work through the complex emotional volatility of my failing marriage, man. I just want to know what it feels like to buy a house. But none of that even comes close to the real star of the show for this one, as in order to partake in that sweet house buying action, you're gonna need to jump through some ludicrous hoops. Before you can purchase a property, you're going to need to locate and appraise it through some research. To do this, you will construct the property profile by drawing specific cards from 3 of the 4 decks, which will eventually culminate in the total property profile that you can use to buy the building. This will come with some variables like whether or not the current owner will bargain under the appraised value, but the real star of the show is how you pay for the property. Buying it outright, what do you think this is? Fantasyland? No, it is much more intuitive for you to sign a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage of $50,000 at an 8% APR carrying a $400 monthly payment. Doesn't this sound like a freaking blast? Veilfisk did that as a joke. He put this nonsense in his game as a joke because of how awful that mechanic would be to play through. And yet, here it is, presented with the same certainty one would talk about drawing a chance card. Yeah, so once you land on that space, you can calculate the net operating income for your property so we can determine the building's total equity. We'll start with, what's that? Oh, you have a triple net tenant. Okay, so for that we're going to need to use a different equation. The parallels between these two games are wild, especially when you consider that this game's calculations are designed to be completed quickly through a simple yearly total mortgage cost minus your salary. Ridiculous, yes, but quick and easy to perform so that the game can move along. This doofus, however, forces you to complete all of the equations with pencil and paper for each individual property you own, including the 8-step process of calculating the equity of your investment properties, including insurance, taxes, water costs, and the NOI generated by which category of tenant is currently renting out the place. Did you think I was spouting off jargon in that earlier skit? No, that's a legitimate process that you will need to go through on every property every year. Good lord, man. When your game is less intuitive than a title specifically designed to produce a negative experience so you can laugh at the player's collective suffering, you have created an abomination. And despite all of the game's focuses on realism and complexity at the sacrifice of any and all enjoyment, the winner is still always gonna come down to luck. The winner will always be whichever player ends up rolling the dice the best. Heck, all of these games will, because they all share the same critical component that ties them all together. They were all crafted from Monopoly. When you decide to build your game around Monopoly, you can add stuff on or cut stuff out all you want. But that initial decision has permanently tainted your game due to Monopoly leaving a little bit of itself inside of the core. When you play Monop, you can try to put yourself in the optimal position all you want. If the dice aren't landing your way, you aren't winning that game. And that same principle echoes through every ripoff, no matter how simple, complex, or different your title is. So remember kids, be sure to come up with your own ideas when creating something. Otherwise, no matter how hard you may try, it will eventually come down to the roll of a die. Signing off for Joel Harden's Mogopoly, I am Cam Sandwich. Thank you for watching and have a fantastic day. A special thank you to my suppliers, staff, and chefs over at the deli, as well as the media preservers helping me get these rare games ported for the public to enjoy. If you'd like to join the crew, you can take a look using the link in the description below.
As piores cópias mal feitas de Monopoly. E sinceramente, sei lá, vai ficar por aqui. Tchau.